Good morning. It's great to get the opportunities to share some of our learnings from all the way from Asia Pacific. I'm not going to bore you with the company introduction to start with, but to dive into the topic, then I will share more with you about our experiences. All right, so first of all, insurance, from my point of view, it was easier to sell in the past, as it was easier in a way that by knowing whatever products that you have, and you would know your channel apparently, then you can go to sell. That was easy. So when I still remember when I got my first job, 21 years ago, of working for an insurance company, we were selling insurance or travel insurance on paper. But this is actually a long history. But now, actually, there's a third dimension in the whole distribution arena. We call it patterns, but actually now the pattern means that how you actually reach to the channel. Through the channel by using different patterns to distribute your products. For example, like you can use your mobile apps, you can use your browser, you can use embedded insurance. There are so many ways to actually distribute your products. But do you find your company or yourself or your operation, do you have the right capabilities to capture these opportunities? In other words, do you see it as a challenge or is an opportunity? And when I talk about capabilities, it's not just about system. Do you have the people, the process, the system, the product in order to actually distribute your product in the new era? And that leads to the next two keywords that I'm going to talk about, AI and API. But AI and API is not new, but today in my sharing, the key point is you don't do AI and API as an option. It should become as a native capabilities in your system, in your process, in your organization. So, for example, like an API, we, at least from our point of view, we should not build APIs again. We should not have a system or have an operation. Then we try to build API on top of it. But instead, like in our discussion with the client, API should be built within your system, your operation should be built by API from the very beginning. The beauty of that, I'm going to share with you the example later, why this is important. And similarly, AI, I don't know, we are new, Byforce and myself, we are new to Europe. But I would say that in Southeast Asia, in Asia Pacific, the adoption of AI has already gone past the early stage. So now, in our conversation with the client, it's no longer to think about what AI can do for the specific use cases. But it's the other way around. The question should be, what processes AI is not suitable to do in order so that you need to look for other solution. Can you see the difference? It's not about, I can identify 20% kind of use cases to use AI. But the thought process should be 100% of your operation, of your processes should be AI enabled. And what the minority 20%, because of whatever reasons, you will need to look for API or look for other solutions. That is a very big mind-shifting kind of a concept. But why does it relate it and link to the distribution I mentioned earlier? By having the brain and the API, in other words, in layman terms, connectors, connecting your system, your product, and your operation with the outside world, with all your partners, all the peripheral kind of solutions available in the market, and they are unlimited. By force, we are now in 10 countries already, and every single country, because of the regulations, because of the business environment, they are all very different. So do you have the flexibility to capture these opportunities is the questions. But we have a very strong view that the API, the connectivities, and also the brain, the AI, is not about one replacing the others. They should be actually jointly working together to make your company and your system become AI and API native. And I will give you a few examples to illustrate the concept. For example, like the API, if you have the granular level of API, means that you can do whatever you like. However, based on our understanding and also our experiences, when you go into a specific market, there may be some regulatory kind of a reporting, some regulatory kind of interfaces needs to be done. So you will not able to just use your API. You need to use someone else's API. So the flexibility is extremely important. And similarly, the AI is not about building one or two AI agents and make it available, but how can you develop to help your organization to develop a lot of AI skills, and some of them can then be built and put it into a practical AI agent in the operational usage. So it's all about thinking. It's not for the minority anymore, but how actually adopt the native kind of a nature into your operation by using the AI and API. And allow me to share with you a real personal life example. I lived in Singapore. I'm not sure how many of you have visited Singapore, but it's a beautiful place. It has Malaysian, Indian, Chinese, and a lot of expats. Why am I talking about this? And my daughter was born in Singapore. And at the age of 2.5, I still remember, I was having a dialogue, trying to talk to my daughter. Apparently, for a little girl at 2.5 years old, cannot talk too much. The sentences cannot be too long. But because she was born in that environment, the native language for her is Singlish. Not too sure if you heard about the terms, but she was able to put Chinese, Cantonese, Mandarin, and also English in one sentence. And the sentence may only be 6 or 7 words. So that is to me, is an example. What's the meaning of native? You don't think. You just do it naturally. And can we, or do you, in your operations or in your system today, do you have AI and API emerged in your operation and in your system and processes, so that is not something that you need to think to do it, but it's already is a native kind of skills in your organization. And there's a practical reason why we need to think about this. Because API and AI, as I mentioned earlier, is not a replacement, but the two capabilities should be working together. And for example, like for this very simple flow, you extract data from a document, you started doing a rating, and then and make some recommendations to the customer, and at the end to issue the quotation. Do you use AI to do everything? Yes, you can, but you may lose some efficiency, as you don't want, for example, like a rating, you don't want the AI agents to think about how to rate every single time. And so you may have a predefined rate table already available. But on the other hand, can you use API to make a plan suggestions to the customer? Probably not, as every single time, even for the same customer, you would like to make use of the latest and the most relevant information or demographic information or the sales kind of a history in order to make the best recommendations. So that's why in the new world, we see that the AI, which is highlighted in yellow color, and the blue one is the API for calling some standardized kind of a services, would make more sense in terms of having the optimum kind of efficiency and also minimize the cost. As using the AI agent is not necessary, although it's much more cheaper than before, but it is not necessarily cheap. But the next level of consideration is the boundaries is not as clear as black or white, because we already see that there are some skill, the underwriting, when there needs to be some AI elements to support the underwriting decision making. For example, there are quite a lot of new or professional underwriting engine available in the market. But when you call these engines through API, you will not know there may be an AI agent at the back doing the research and the decision making. But from a system point of view, you're calling one API. The other extreme, going to this side, to the left-hand side, maybe you are trying to call an AI agent to make a decision for medical claims. But at the back, the AI agent, needs to use a lot of information, and the information may be available in some tables or reference resources already. So the AI agent could be very intelligently to call the API to collect all the information, then make the recommendations. So the boundaries is not always that in one box is an AI-driven kind of a solution, the other one is API. It's a mixed, and you need the flexibility. When you become more and more sophisticated, you have more and more AI agents available, just like you have a bigger workforce, then you will need to have a framework to actually manage your digital employee. That's why you need to have an AI middle office or framework to governance, to actually organize all your assets available in the organization. And this AI middle office will become a very integral kind of part of your solution. So you have the policy administration, or all the modules actually can use these AI capabilities. And down below, your AI middle office could be connected to different LLM. Just allow me to share my layman kind of understanding. I actually see that the AI agent, just like a university student, the different LLM is different university. And some may be good in medical, the other one could be good in engineering. So you don't go to one model for everything. So the connectivities and also the flexibility, again, is very important. And this is why, actually, by having all these kind of things under the same roof, by having one platform to support the life insurance, the general insurance, the emerging kind of embedded insurance, makes sense. And this is why Byforce actually designed and developed our solutions. And I do understand we are new to this region, and many of you may not know who is Byforce, but we are a software insurtech company, and we provide a platform. The platform support life business operation, general insurance, and also group business. And all, as I mentioned, all these boxes, from day one, we were built based on the internal APIs. That's why we have a 2,800, and next month maybe 2,900 APIs that can be used internally and externally. And the last a few slides just to let you know, we as a company was founded in Singapore, and these are all the logos acquired since 2020. And I assume many of you do not know who are the brands in Asia Pacific, but we were lucky enough. We are working with the #1 insurer in Philippines, in Singapore, and also in Malaysia, the decouple Malaysia insurance company. And we also got a digital insurer in Saudi Arabia has chosen our platform as the core policy administration system. But these brands are still too far away from you. But that's why I would like to share with you that Unica, the Austria-based insurance company, we actually have been chosen by them as the solution provider for a specific mission. And we actually started the relationship and the engagement in December last year. And for the reason, one very simple reason. They wanted to make use of the new technology to digitalize their operations for developing the bancassurance business in multiple countries. And I'm very happy to share with you for the last few seconds. Actually, yeah, just in 6 months, we managed to work together with Onica. We were successfully launched the first deployment of to support Onica on their partnership with Article Bank. So this is actually just launched 2 days ago. So I hope my sharing would give you some different perspective, but this is all I prepared to share today. Thank you.